machines in the long term are cheaper than people. So they're looking to make you do that, and it's also sold to us as convenience, but in large part it's about reducing costs. So we're interested in innovation for two real reasons. One reason is because it makes us wealthier. Basically, as a more wealthy country, we can afford more things like the National Health Service, better schooling for children, etc. But it also helps us in terms of welfare. We basically become a healthier country as well. So innovation, in one sense, we're not interested in it in and of itself, but we are interested in it because of what it does. What we know is economies change as they innovate. So what's happened to advanced economies like the UK is that about 80% of our total employment is in services. And whilst the manufacturing side of the economy has become quite small. Many people, for example, will go on Ryanair or EasyJet, and that's a form of service innovation. It actually comes from Southwest Airlines in the United States of making a much simpler form of airline provision. They took away all the frills, simplify everything, drive out costs, and therefore reduce the amounts that people have to pay. So it's providing new things to clients, or it's providing existing things in simpler ways. A lot of service innovations are orientated towards driving out the cost of people, because people tend to become more and more expensive over time. So if you look at something like the supermarket and self-scanning of your groceries, this is partly because machines in the long term are cheaper than people. So they're looking to make you do that, and it's also sold to us as convenience, but in large part it's about reducing costs. The manufacturing sector was thought to be the most important sector in the economy because it captures or encapsulates wealth. But what's happened over time in the last sort of 50, 60 years is the services part has grown enormously. Now, one of the problems with services is actually they are a kind of whole mix of different things. It includes things which the state provides, so health services, education services, but also things which we get as consumers, so the retailers, but also many, many business services, so financial services, computer services, professional services. And one of our challenges really is to try to understand this whole mass of different things which innovate in kind of different ways. Are there other ways of innovating which we've missed until now? So we've done some work looking at how particular sectors emerge and evolve. So one sector we looked at was the engineering consultancy industry, the sector in which Britain is very strong. We have some of the most prestigious companies in the space, companies like Arup, but also large companies like Atkins and smaller companies that are fast rising like Buro Happold. Now we were interested in how these companies are evolving over time. In particular, we looked at how they're competitive in terms of becoming more internationalized. The way in which these companies were most likely to become internationally strong is by doing unusual combinations of activities. So if you're an engineering consultant and you normally consulting around roads, it's relatively usual to say go into bridges or maybe to go into ports and harbors. But what we found is that companies which went into unusual activities, so things like health and safety consulting or earthquake consulting, what it was is the companies that did unusual combinations of activities, which tended to be much more likely to internationalize with other things kept constant. So this is a kind of surprising result. So it's actually the interesting space is that the combinations of two or more different activities that companies are doing can make the company different from its competitors. So try to be a little unusual, I suppose, will be the main message coming from our work to businessmen.